ladies and gentlemen. Our first guest is a musician, singer, band leader, occasional actor, musical director, producer, executive, and educator who is responsible for creating, producing, and casting some of the most popular and iconic live entertainment at Disney parks and resorts worldwide, including Beauty and the Beast, the Epcot Center grand opening ceremonies, Laserphonic Fantasy, the Epcot Daredevil Circus Spectacular, Surprise in the Skies, Skylightoscope, SpectroMagic, Fantasmic, Sorcery in the Sky Fireworks, Buffalo Bill's Wild West Dinner Show, Motir's Action Stunt Show Spectacular, Fantalusion, Tapestry of Nations, Festival of the Lion King, and the Epcot Center Nighttime Spectaculars Illuminations, Illuminations 25, oh, and the best one, Illuminations 2000's Reflections of Earth, just to name a few. He also produced countless special events for the Walt Disney Company, including the premiere of Disney films in unique locations, including New York Central Park, and atop the aircraft carrier, the USS John C. Stennis in Pearl Harbor, along with 5 Super Bowl halftime shows. As the president and founder of the Walt Disney Theatrical Productions, he also brought Disney on Broadway and beyond with the Tony Award-winning Beauty and the Beast, a new musical, which received a total of 9 Tony Award nominations and is currently the 10th longest-running production in Broadway history, with 5,461 performances over 13 years. In a career with Disney spanning more than 40 years, beginning with an auspicious role as a trumpet-playing wooden soldier in the 1958 Disneyland Christmas Parade, he has worked with some of the biggest and brightest jazz, pop, and Broadway acts. Named Executive Vice President, Executive Producer for Walt Disney Entertainment, he retired after 23 years of service with the company and was honored with a window on Main Street in Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom in 2001. He was named a Disney Legend in 2007. Today he serves as an associate professor at the University of Central Florida's Rosen College of Hospitality Management. Please welcome Disney legend Ron Logan. Joining Ron for this presentation is a themed entertainment industry historian, producer, educator, and consultant, currently teaching courses in entertainment, hospitality, theme park design, theme park management, and event management at the University of Central Florida. He has has a multifaceted background in the entertainment industry with many years spent with key industry players, including Disney and Universal. He has managed and produced a vast magnitude of projects, including Ron Logan's entertaining 2014 presentation at Destination D and 2019's Retro Magic event for the Lake Buena Vista Historical Society. He is also a collector of theme park ephemera, and his favorite parade is SpectroMagic. That's fitting for today. Please welcome Bill Zanetti.
I'm that guy, he's that guy.
I'm this guy.
He's a young guy.
Well, thanks, Tom. Those were great introductions, right? Jeez, hope we can live up.
I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be anywhere these days. So thank you for inviting us to speak. It's going to be a blast to talk about some of the amazing projects that have been part of my career. Maybe we can give your audience some new information and behind-the-scene facts, trivia they hadn't had before. How about that? You'd like to hear about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like everyone's excited. Ron, let's actually start back with Walt Disney World's 20th anniversary. It's really the first anniversary of the parks that I can remember. Well, I'm a bit younger than you.
What?
And, well, I have some fond memories of that celebration's offerings. I really love the parade called SpectroMagic. Anybody like SpectroMagic in here? Yeah, there we go. And then there's this live stage show that you did that just keeps on going. It's still Beauty and the Beast. Is any fans of that? Okay. Ron, you okay? I want to talk about those today?
Well, yeah, and by the way, I didn't name SpectroMagic.
Well,
it was named by marketing. I always thought it sounded like a skin disease. You've got SpectroMagic, but whatever you call it,
yeah,
it certainly worked. So yeah, let's talk about what was happening. Back in the years leading up to 1991, in the Disney company, the animation studio was working on a new animated feature film, Beauty and the Beast. At the time, Michael Eisner, who I very luckily reported directly to, really believed in the concept of synergy. I was tasked with creating a live stage show production of Beauty and the Beast to use in the theme parks. One for Disneyland park in California and one for the then Disney MGM Studios theme park in Florida. Now, I was no stranger to synergy. We had just produced a show based on the movie Dick Tracy for the park, but that's the risk when you try to match a movie premiere date with entertainment in the park based on a said movie. The movie could be really successful or a complete flop. Dick Tracy was an absolute bomb. So in Walt Disney World, there was a show that we would have to be replaced. The company also had a marketing plan that required 20 new things to see and do for Disney World's 20th anniversary.
You know, I'd like to see them do that for the 50th.
You and me both. Well, it's too late now. So anyway, hey, you laugh right on cue. Do you have a script? No, okay. So anyway, that meant the Beauty and the Beast show would need to be coming out in 1991 in time for the 20th anniversary of Walt Disney World and in time for the premiere of the movie.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, the fiscal year of the Walt Disney Company runs roughly through October 1st every year. So that kind of explains why a lot of these anniversaries happen around that time.
That's right, Bill. So I produced two versions of the show. One in Disneyland in a great theater. We call it the Fantasyland Theater now, but back then it was called Videopolis. And then the concrete band shell that really sucks, that looks like the Hollywood Bowl here.
Yeah, that's the old one they had before they built Sunset Boulevard. Actually, I'm going to interrupt the script because we found a video of that original band shell. And you don't know about this, but I'm going to play it right now. So we have, this is Beauty and the Beast live on stage. We found this on YouTube. I apologize to whoever filmed it. We don't remember. So take a look. This is from the Christmas parade.
And now, let's go to the Theater of the Stars on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, do we have not audio?
Of the classic fairy tale, the Disney MGM Studios is proud to present Beauty and the Beast.
I'm going to assume that you're not getting any audio because the audio is not being routed out to the people out there. So it's good that we find this out now rather than, you know, a while ago when we were checking this out before. So.
Well, the point here is that I had to produce, and my job as producer is to make the decisions financially, sell it to the powers that be, they have the money, get the show director team to agree, which wasn't easy all the time, most of the time, in regard to what decisions we made because they wanted the freedom to do what they wanted to do. So it was a matter of deciding what kind of show can we do in Florida, and then what kind of show can we do in California. And basically cutting through all of it, California had the best stage. It had fly space, wing space, you could do magical things, and Bill will show you something there in a second.
You guys should have audio if you turn it up. If not, then I'm not sure we're going to be able to continue. I assume there's no audio.
This is Florida.
Stuff. I know. So anyway, we can talk.
Put your eyes on this. This is on the trumpet stage. Boom. How many know the story of this? Raise your hand.
That's some cupcake or
Some dress.
some dress.
It was a moment in time where I had a little extra money, which I could manipulate any way I wanted as a producer in charge of Walt Disney Entertainment. And somebody brought me a drawing of a parfait glass prop
Yeah.
that could be turned into a costume. That's what you just saw there. Is it possible to back that up a second?
Yeah, I can go back.
So you can see it again. Watch this closely.
And now, let's go to the Theater of the Stars on Hollywood Boulevard, where from the pages of the classic fairy tale, the Disney MGM Studios is proud to present Beauty and the Beast. Be our guest, put our service to the test.
we only live to serve. Try the grace of it's delicious. Don't believe me, ask the dishes. They can sing, they can dance. After all, now this is France, and the dinner here is never second best. Go on and hold your hand.
Boom. That cost me $30,000.
$30,000.
Was it worth it? You're damn right. Because it made this show all of a sudden have something that you went, wow, look at that, unexpected.
That was amazing. So let's talk about the version in California for a little bit. The California version, it had the better stage, right, because it was in Videopolis. And the way the show was set up out there, you actually had a full prologue for the show, right?
Well, and I also had a team that I was also at the same time, I was responsible for both parks. I was also responsible for a place called the Queen Mary. Remember that?
You remember the Queen Mary?
Which was sad that we ended up not being involved in that because we had some great concepts of biplanes flying and so forth. Anyway, we had a great team of Rob Roth, Stan Meyer, and Matt West, who had been hired on contract to do stuff for the Queen Mary. Well, when that show, we didn't do the Queen Mary anymore, that team I assigned to do the version that's at Disneyland of Beauty and the Beast. They are the same team that did Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. And by the way, are working right now on a new updated version of Beauty and the Beast for Broadway. Same team, those three guys. And they worked very well. They produced the show that I felt this is a show that we're going to take. When we started talking about going to Broadway, I had meetings because when I saw Beauty and the Beast, the early rushes of the film, I went up to Jeffrey Katzenberg and said, this ought to be a Broadway show. At which point he said, we don't do Broadway shows. Well, maybe we should. He said, no, and he made a comment that New Yorkers don't like theme parks. What are you talking about? We're talking about Broadway here. They're New Yorkers. So I said, I still think because of the music especially, and the story, because the story was very, very simple. And the animation, you know, Beauty and the Beast, the movie was nominated for Academy Award. Period. Not in any animation category. So then I called Eisner and said, how can I, because I just couldn't let go the subject. I couldn't let go of it. And one hint I'll give you, and then Don Dorsey's in the crowd knows this, Bill knows this. If you got an idea, man, don't give up on it. Keep trying it, keep trying it, keep trying it. Eventually that idea will either be flushed or be something to look at. And who knows when that is. Those are called portfolios. I teach in my classes. You need a portfolio of your ideas. There's no such a thing as a bad idea, period. Maybe it's the wrong time, maybe it's the wrong technology. If you got a good idea, you hang on to it, because then you can try to play that idea later. So I made a decision.
Did you want to show any of the stuff from California? From that?
Yeah, let's just clip, and she'll show the difference in technology.
Yeah.
Watch this, and watch how we did the transformation in the Beauty and the Beast show.
Yeah. So we're going to actually, there's a series of 3 clips here that we're going to go through. The first one is the prologue, which to my knowledge, this did not exist in Florida. And the main reason for that is because the Florida stage is such a tiny stage that they didn't have real full control over the lighting or anything like that, especially the curtains. And if you look at how the curtains operate for this beginning of the show here, you'll kind of see what I mean and how the curtains are really important. So here's the first clip.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a young prince lived in a shining castle. Although he had everything his heart desired, the prince was spoiled, selfish, and unkind. One winter's night, an old beggar woman came to the castle and offered him a single rose in return for shelter from the bitter cold. Repulsed by her haggard appearance, the prince sneered at the gift and turned the old woman away. But she warned him not to be deceived by appearances, for beauty is found within. She had seen that there was no love in his heart, and as punishment she transformed him into a hideous beast and placed a powerful spell on the castle and all who lived there. If he could learn to love another and earn their love in return, the spell would be broken. If not, he would be doomed to remain a beast for all time. As the years passed, he fell into despair and lost all hope, for who could ever learn to love a beast?
Yeah, who could ever learn to love a beast? So the next clip, and this picks up in the middle of the show in California, and it starts out when somebody doesn't want to come to dinner.
She's not coming.
What?
Your Grace! Your Eminence! Let's not be hasty!
I thought I told you to come down for dinner.
I'm not hungry.
You'll come out wrong. I'll break down the door.
I could be wrong, but that may not be the best way to win the girl's affections. Please, attempt to be a gentleman, but she's so difficult.
Will you come down to dinner?
No, I won't.
Please.
No, thank
You can't stay in there forever.
you. Yes, I can.
Fine. Then go ahead and starve. If she doesn't eat with me, then she doesn't eat at all.
Oh dear, that didn't go very well at all, did it?
Lumiere, stand watch at the door and inform me at once if there is the slightest change. You can count on me, Mon Capitaine.
Is he gone? Excuse me, sir. I really am very hungry. Do you think maybe I could get something to eat?
Well, the kitchen did prepare a little something. It seems a shame to let it go to waste. Of course you may have some dinner. And what is dinner without a little music? Esteemed mademoiselle, it is with deepest pride and greatest pleasure that we welcome you tonight. And now, we invite you to relax, pull up a chair, as the dining room proudly presents your dinner. Be our guest, be our guest, put our service to the test. Tie your napkin around your neck, chérie, and we'll provide the rest. Soup du jour, hot hors d'oeuvre, why we only live to serve. Try the gray stuff, it's delicious. Don't believe me, ask the dishes.
Can sing, we can dance, after all, Mrs. Express.
And the dinner here is never second best. Go on, unfold your menu, take a glance, and then you'll be our guest. We our guest, be our guest. Beef ragout, cheese soufflé, pie and pudding en flambé. We'll prepare and serve with flair of culinary cabaret.
You're alone and you're scared.
But the banquet's all prepared.
No one's gloomy or complaining while the flatware's entertaining. We tell jokes, I do tricks with my fellow candlesticks.
And it's all in perfect taste that you can bet. Come on and lift your glass, drink what your hungry past to be our guest.
If you're stressed, it's fine dining we suggest.
Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest.
Guests, sakes alive, but I'll be blessed. Wine's been poured and thank the Lord I've got the napkins freshly pressed. She'll want tea, and my dear, that's fine with me. While the cups do this, I'll shoot it, I'll be popping it, I'll be brewing, I'll get warm, I've been hot. How to Easy don't promote the company interest.
We've got a lot to do.
Easy one, not for two. For you, our guest.
She's our guest.
She's our guest.
Be our guest. Be our guest. Be our guest. Uncommand is your request. It's been years since we've had anybody here. We're obsessed with your meal, with your ease. It's a day made to please. All the candle lights will glory. Let us help you really come in. Yours by voice, one by one. Will you shout? Yeah, I'm done. We'll sing you off to sleep as you digest. Tonight you'll pop your feet up, but for now let's see them. Be our guest. Be our guest. Be our guest.
This is transportation.
Still gets them, doesn't
Yep.
it? That's there's still one more scene that I want to show you at the end of this, and this is the Kill the Beast number, and this will eventually go into the transformation. And the transformation is, how many people have seen the show out here? You've seen it a couple of times? Okay. You know, basically they do the transformation here by two people with a big blanket come in front, and then, oh, it's not the Beast anymore. Or he's turned, well, it is. He's turned back into his human form, right? Well, watch this transformation. This is pretty amazing. So pay special attention to that. And the other thing is because this was more of a proper theater, they were not allowed to use actual fire on the torches. People don't know this, but in the Gaston number out here in Florida, they had actual lit torches with real fire on stage. And they cut it back over the years, I think. I don't know if they have lit torches right now, because the show's just come back, right? Has it come back, or is it? Yeah, okay, yeah. So I haven't seen it yet, if they brought back the torches or not. But here they have, Gaston has like a lit torch that's made with lights, you know, so take a look.
In a jealous rage over Belle's refusal to marry him, Gaston incited the villagers against the Beast and led an attack on the castle.
Kill the Beast, or he will kill your children! No! Come after them in the night. No one will be safe until his head is mounted on my wall. I say we kill the Beast!
Yeah! We're not safe until he's dead. He'll come stalking us at night.
And to sacrifice our children to his monstrous appetite.
He'll wreak havoc on our village if we let him wander free.
So it's time to take some action, boys. It's time to follow me. The mist through the woods, through the darkness and the shadows, it's a nightmare, but it's one exciting ride. Say a prayer, then we're there at the drawbridge of the castle, and there's something truly terrible inside. It's a beast. He's got fangs, treasure sharp ones, massive paws, full of claws for the beast. Hear him roar, see him go, but we're not coming home till he's dead. Dead. Kill the beast. If you're not with us, you're against us. We'll rid the village of this beast. Who's with me?
I am.
Throw your courage to the sticking place.
We're counting on Gaston to lead the way. Through a mist, to a wood, we're within a haunted castle. Something's lurking that you don't see every day. It's a beast, one as tall as a mountain. We will press till he's good and deceased. Sally forth, sally home, grab your sword, grab your bow. Praise the Lord, and here we go.
We'll lay siege to the castle and bring back his head. Take whatever booty you can find. But remember, the beast is mine!
Today's battle time, we go marching into battle on a plate, although the danger just increased. Raise the flag, sing a song, every night my baby's broken, 50 bells can be wrong. Kill the beast! Kill the beast! Kill the beast!
Beast!
Now, you came back.
Of course I came couldn't let them do this to you. I tried to warn you. Oh, it's all my fault.
At least I get to see you one last time.
I won't let you die.
It's better this way.
No. Please. Please don't leave me. I love you.
It's me. Tale as old as time, true as it can be. Barely even friends, then somebody bends unexpectedly. Just a little change, small to say the least, both a little scared, neither one prepared. Beauty and the Beast, ever just the same, ever a surprise, ever as before, ever just as sure as the sun will rise.
All right.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that was fantastic.
so here's what happens. The show decision to go ahead and do it on Broadway, primarily because we got in a newspaper, a guy named Frank Rich, who was an editor and a critic for New York Times on Broadway shows, wrote in his newspaper on the 31st, it was a New Year's Eve, that Hollywood's gain was New York's loss. That if Beauty and the Beast had been on Broadway, it would have been nominated for awards, et cetera, et cetera. So all of a sudden I get this phone call on New Year's Eve from my house. I'm getting ready to go to a party. It's Michael Eisner. What was that idea you had about Beauty and the Beast? Blah, 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 blah. So he said, well, which team would you want to use? I told him the one in LA, and he liked that team anyway because he'd seen him work on stuff for the Queen Mary. And he said, okay, come to Aspen. You got the rest of this till August. Come to Aspen in August. Give me a presentation. We'll make a decision then. And we worked on that. I hired two magicians, Jim Steinmeier, and another musician to help us with tricks because he wanted magic. Bill has the little note. Eisner always wrote notes in red ink. Said, would you present to me, blah, 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 blah. And I have this on display at Rosen College. And I put it in a red frame because Eisner always put everything in a red frame. And this is something I value. because he's been such a mentor to me, and I'm glad he looked really good on ABC this week. He's doing great, lost a little more hair, but he's doing great. And what a partner to have. And it's because of the team I had, and that you have members of that team here, that he believed in what we did. And he then became my personal mentor. I ended up being executive vice president because of him. About every 2 years, he came to me with a new job. When he asked me to do Disney theatrical, I didn't know how to do that. But you find in the entertainment industry, if you kept your plate clean and not doing silly, stupid things, you can ask for help, and they'll help you. Say, how do I set up Disney theatrical? And I had help in doing it. And the legal comes in and all that. So we had Disney theatrical. And I was the head of Disney theatrical through Beauty and the Beast. We then did Aida, which was not one of my favorite shows. And then we did Lion King. Julie Taymor was the show director on that, and became very famous for that. But it was a matter of developing that, and then when I retired and I turned over Disney theatrical, it was natural to go to Tom Schumacher. Not to the other guy. There were two guys who did animation. I don't want to get into trouble here legally. One was terrific. That's Tom Schumacher. One was an absolute asshole. I won't say who that is, but you can find it on the internet. So sue me, you know. He was such a pain in the neck the whole way. And I could tell story after story. I should write the book, but you'd never believe it if I wrote it, of things and shenanigans going on. One of the things, everything that we produced with our team had to make money, because you did the show to draw attendance. You did the show to make more money in another way. And we made money. We knew how to make money. I always joke that these shows and parades and spectaculars we had to do bought my house and condo, because I got promotions based on that. So you're going to say might say that's tale as old as time?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to point out, though, on this memo, Michael said,
oh, yeah.
Look at that, no money for presentation. Yeah. P.S., budget, too. So, yeah. I
really perished this note.
Yeah, it's a cool note.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's the original poster.
So you come to Rosen College, it's in a cabinet, so you can see it's on display on the second floor of Rosen College.
Yeah.
If you want to come over there, you know, I'm there Tuesdays and Thursdays. Let me know, and I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the poster for Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, which was, they had to redo the poster. They did it in one night to redo the poster because the original one was too close to the animated film poster. So
that's the one we did. We did our out of market work in Houston, Texas, because Eisner wanted to get as far away as he could from New York, which showed he really didn't have any faith in us, to me. But that's okay with me, because Houston was a wonderful place for that. We set every record that Houston ever had in regard to, it's called Theater of the Stars, and we set every record there with Beauty and the Beast, so I knew we really had something. We were still working out different things because our set was too big. I'd hired the guy to do the set who had done Phantom of the Opera, and if you saw the original Broadway show set, it was just a monster. The guy that did that set ended up doing the MGM Grand in Vegas, and it had to do with elevators and all kinds of stuff. So, but I had a great team, you know, in regard to those kinds of things, because I was allowed to get a great team because of the Disney name, number one, and they would expect that we would get money to do whatever it is we decided to do, and they had an opportunity to show how good they were. And I prided myself with my team. I rewarded them. I never had any person that worked for me ever quit, who were managers or above. Because if somebody told me, boy, that's the best show you've ever done, and I had an open rec, or I was trying to get somebody a promotion, I'd be in that person's office the next day say, you really like that show? I said, yeah. I said, okay, give this person a raise. And that's what worked between me and my team of that trust issue that went on that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Ron, that's amazing. You could say that's almost a tale as old as time.
Bill, stick to your day job.
So let's move on. Let's talk about SpectroMagic, huh? Yeah, how did that begin?
Well, a decision was made to send the Walt Disney World Main Street Electrical Parade to Euro Disneyland, which is now Disneyland Paris. I was then asked to produce a new version for Walt Disney World. And man, was I afraid of that. Because Main Street Electrical Parade at Disneyland was so successful, and then there was a new version of that, bigger version in Florida that was so successful, but a decision was made to send it to France because in Paris it would get dark at 11 o'clock in the morning. So they use it to brighten the place up. And man, I didn't want to do a new show. I said, how am I going to compete with Main Street Electrical Parade? So my team and I worked on all kinds of different concepts. I had them go out and bring me every kind of light they could find, including fiber optics. Every time they show me fiber optics, you know, that's where you have plastic and you put light through it. They always should show it to me in a darkened room. Well, in Florida, it never gets dark at night. The moon is always out, so how am I going to deal with that? So we took the best of all of that and put it in this new parade that we were going to work on. And my team worked really hard in regard to it. A couple of the things that we learned how to do because of putting double wiring on the floats. The last 5 floats of SpectroMagic had double wiring. And you could go instantly with all colored lights or all white lights in an instant. But that technology required double wiring. The double wiring made those floats so heavy, I had to pay to rebuild the bridge from the castle to Adventureland Square because it could not take the weight of this show. But I did. I paid for that, and we did that.
Well, I have a multimedia presentation. It'll kind of bring back the feeling of SpectroMagic to you for a second. And sadly, I've been told we can't turn down the lights in here, so we can't do the whole lighting thing. But that was the cool thing about SpectroMagic, is the lights all turned off at the right time and everything. But let's take a look.
This magic night, a million stars will play.
The other thing I did, in the music, we changed it to 3/4 time and not duple time. This is Walt. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I wanted to do everything we could possibly do to be different.
Welcome to the splendor, the spectacle, the sparkling sensation, where the romance, the comedy, and the thrill of Disney fantasies come to electric life.
If there was lightning, they'd cancel the parade, though, so don't take that literally.
And now, the Magic Kingdom proudly presents, in 1,000,000 points of musical light, the magical worlds of Disney in SpectroMagic.
So let's talk a little bit about SpectroMagic. Oh, if you can clap, no, that's fine. Yeah, by all means. So SpectroMagic opened up on October 1st, 1991 as part of Walt Disney World's 20th anniversary celebration, and also to celebrate Fantasia's 50th anniversary, which was incorporated into the show. Including the smaller floats, there were 36 floats in total. Broken down, that's 29 full units and 7 whirly units. You know what a whirly unit is? It's like a little little thing that spins around and everything. Ursula counts in this parade if you're thinking of, you know, what Ursula was. There were multiple types. Sorry, I skipped something. Ron always required a minimum of 125 people in any parade that he did when he was at Walt Disney Entertainment.
Well, let me get in the middle of
You
that.
want to talk a little bit about that? Yeah.
The easiest thing for operations to do is eliminate entertainers. And I would go watch the parade every day. When I wasn't there, I would leave, and my people would tell me, hey, they didn't bring this unit in, they didn't bring that unit in. Because we didn't operate the parade. The operation people operated the parade, we produced it. So I said, okay, I'm gonna set a rule here. Never any less than 125 people, or you don't have a parade that my name is on, because you're gonna disappoint people. And I had people in the audience who would keep tabs and actually count the numbers. Don't believe that we have a lot of things in your session here between the operators and the creative people. Don't ever believe it's a marriage made in heaven, because it is not, because you got both sides of the story that are going on. And you've got to be strong. If you're a creative person, you still got to tell somebody no. And then stand up to be able to do that, to be able to survive. And that's what we did.
Now, there were different types of light that were used in SpectroMagic. Fiber optics, liquid neon, military-developed materials, projections, cathode ray tube TVs, like old tube TVs, were actually in the parade. Tinkerbell was on them. Disco balls, searchlights, plasma balls, all those types of light, and actually more than that, were actually all part of the parade. And there were 6 sections of the parade, all with essentially different underlying themes. And great composer, John Debney, did the score for SpectroMagic. And that still resonates with me all the time. I love listening to that. So creatively, SpectroMagic was designed to be the creative opposite of the Main Street Electrical Parade. And it's kind of interesting. You want to talk more about that, Ron?
Yeah, let me give you the thought I had, and Don Dorsey, who's in the crowd, he'll talk to you tomorrow. He was involved in this too. I had a problem with parades when we did them, and take the Main Street Electrical Parade as an example. Let's say you're waiting for the parade, and generally my rule was you need to have your show start and pass every single person in a 20-minute window. And there are what we call parade zones in the park. So the show starts, continues on, and ends as you watch it in a 20-minute period. And I started studying that, and I realized that, let's say the Main Street Electrical Parade, and you have Alice in Wonderland sitting on the mushroom. Just Alice on the mushroom. When you see that parade coming down the street, you see it, usually it went this way. It's Alice on a mushroom. You see the side of it, it's Alice on a mushroom. Back, it's Alice on a mushroom. So you end up getting tired of seeing Alice on a mushroom. So you're looking for the next unit, and it's not there yet because it's spaced by 20 minutes. So here's what we worked on, and some of this we just kind of did not officially, kind of unofficially. And I always made my feeling felt. When that parade float comes down the street, I want a story told as it's coming down the street. What's the story here? That's usually the title of whatever the parade is. Then when it goes by you, I want a story told from either side here. Then when it goes past you, I want a story told here. So you're looking at it, you're looking at it, and you're looking at it. You're not looking for the next float. Then timing, you can turn around and the next float is there. And that really worked with this SpectroMagic. It really did. We had so many people line up for this parade. It was a very difficult parade to handle because of that, because of so many people wanting to see this thing. because it was a totally brand new concept in all kinds of ways. We had Chernobog's wings working because it was on Fantasia. We had a few things that I eliminated that I didn't like well, actually this was in the electrical parade. The little unit in the parade that meant nothing was a caterpillar.
Oh, poor
So
caterpillar.
get rid of the caterpillar. I don't want any of it. So it disappeared. I don't know where it is. It disappeared.
So, when you were developing SpectroMagic, to be the creative opposite of the Main Street Electrical Parade, you're looking at, okay, what makes the Main Street Electrical Parade the electrical parade? And the first thing was, well, it was synthesized music, right? And with SpectroMagic, it was going to be full orchestra done in waltz time. Waltz time doesn't refer to Walt Disney. That's like waltzing, you know, triple meter. And Main Street Electrical Parade was just duple meter, 2. So, bum ba da bum ba da bum ba da bum, bum 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 bum, 1 2 3 1 2 3. So it's different there. You're also looking at different types of lights. In the original concept for SpectroMagic, there was no Christmas lights. And yes, we called them Christmas lights because that's literally what they were at the time when they were put on the Main Street Electrical Parade. So you would go and buy them and put them on the parade, and Disney, of course, would get to the point where they would dye the light bulbs themselves, so different colors and everything. But the point is they didn't want those types of lights. So fiber optics were promised that were, you know, fiber optics were perfect in theory, except like he said, they were only doing the demos of the fiber optics in a completely pitch black room. Anyone who's been to the Magic Kingdom outside at night knows that there's giant parking lot lights that resonate off the sky and shine down to the park at all times. So you can never get pitch black in the Magic Kingdom. So eventually the parade did have to have, you know, regular Christmas light bulbs, but they went with a wider color palette and did custom dyes for the lights. So, and you'll hear about that in some of the video clips we have. And there were a few other creative differences. Movement design in the floats, it doesn't just mean that it looks different from every angle like he was talking about, but it also means that the floats themselves actually had moving elements on them. Chernobog's probably the most amazing example of that, and we'll get to that in a second. So I'm going to show you a series of clips from the parade, and we'll see, you know, what you guys remember and everything. Is that okay? Like that? Okay. Let's take a look. So that scene is called Mickey's Dream Coat, and that was a plasma ball. And if you know how a plasma ball actually works, normally when you touch it, all the plasma goes to you. But they had to figure out, well, that doesn't work with Mickey's gloves, and we didn't really use the conductive material that you have now for cell phones and for when you wear gloves. Anyone from a cold climate, you might wear a glove, and there are special kinds of gloves that work with your phone on your screen. So they had to figure out how to make the plasma ball work and turn on and off. And it was synchronized with Mickey with musical cues. So when the ball turns on and off, if the person, Mickey, I don't know how to say that, if they knew their job really well, they could actually listen in for the cues on when the ball would activate and when it would turn off, and they'd be able to play with it and, you know, oh, where'd it go? And, you know, and it would work and everything, so they had a lot of fun with it. I mean, Mickey had a lot of fun with it. Anyway, the next one we're going to show is the tidal float, so let's take a look at that one. Oh, there's before we get to the tidal float, I just want to point out, this float had a lot going on it. Look at all that LN2. That's liquid nitrogen that turns into gas. And that stuff would, if you were sitting down on the side of the parade route, that would flow right into your lap. It would just cover everything. And man, that felt really good after a hot day in the Magic Kingdom. So that was really a great effect. So let's move on to the next thing. And disco balls, of course, because disco never dies.
Lighted mask scared the heck out of the kids. They didn't last too long in the parade. We ended up getting rid of them at some point to do the parade. This is a great use of fiber optics right here when it works.
So those were the SpectroMen. If you've ever wondered what they're called, they were SpectroMen. But they're weird-looking creatures, aren't they? They eventually changed their design for later renditions of the parade. And they went to face paint, which honestly I thought was actually creepier than the originals. But hey, I don't know. You know, some people I guess thought it was better. With the logo float, though, there were a lot of problems getting the fiber optics to work, as you mentioned, Ron.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it would just say Spectro, or sometimes just Magic. The way it worked, there were multiple light sources, though. So if one of the sources went out, the corresponding section of the sign would go out, too. And honestly, no matter what they looked like, they were still creepy clowns to me. I don't know. That's So the next section of the parade that we're going to take a look at is the Silly Symphonies section of the parade. Take a look.
Story in the front of the float.
Now Tiffany, now her.
Story legend from the side.
You'll be quite a walking solo. Oh, swing, man, swing.
I sold this from Cirque du Soleil. They had a magical conductor that would be on a ski boots. They could bend over, do all kinds of wild things. People dressed as instruments.
What a groove! What music! How did you do that?
Still in three, it feels like you're in one, but
look at that
one, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This is patterned after a piano duo called Serenity and Tyson. The very famous keyboard people that we made Chip and Dale.
Yeah, Chip and Dale. And they wore seat belts, by the way. That's how they didn't fall off, if you didn't know that. Some of the notable things on here, you probably noticed the harp lady and Goofy. Goofy on the drums. That was always pretty cool. But you also, maybe some of you don't remember Roger Rabbit in the parade. Maybe you remember, I don't know, Dan Castellaneta as Genie. Well, that's because, yeah, that actually did happen. They replaced Roger and took him out of the parade and replaced him with Genie at one point. So same role, same conductor, but different character. I'm not entirely sure the reason why. I know Roger Rabbit is very weird with the rights because it was a product of Touchstone Pictures and Amblin. And so you had a mix of rights with Steven Spielberg and Disney. So I'm just going to assume it was either that, and Roger Rabbit hadn't been used in the Magic Kingdom for a long time, so they stopped using him. Or people just don't resonate as well with Roger Rabbit anymore. So, but there you go, and then here's Chip and Dale at the end. I always love that. It just made a nice laugh. So, next we're going to show you the Sleeping Beauty segment of the parade. And it was also known as the Garden segment because it's absolutely gorgeous. Now, this is the first of the transformative elements of the parade. And the colors would switch from kind of pastels, green and blues, to even deeper green and blues. So take a look.
It's Don Dorsey's Peacock. They're putting the light very closely together. Fiber optics are the eyes. These wings were very, very heavy. I had more problems with health with our dancers, but these are made of fiberglass. I did a parade in Japan after this, where I found a little old lady, 80-some years old, who macrame wings so they could float to the ground, but I had a lot of back problems with these dancers. The fiber optics worked, but one of the problems was I expected to be much better than just kind of symbolistic things, and they were not. They could never meet my contract requirement that we get 94 level of illumination in the fiber optics. Excuse me. So I had two companies in Orlando that went belly up, but they didn't pay them because they didn't meet the rules of the contract. That's a tough thing to do, but that's what you have to do when you're in a business.
So those are absolutely gorgeous floats, and I want to talk just a couple about them, or a couple of floats here. This peacock concept was actually, it was correct. It was created by Don Dorsey, and it was originally meant to be SpectroMagic's answer to the giant eagle at the end of the Main Street Electrical Parade. So you might not have not known that. The dragonflies and butterfly girls, those were really heavy wings that they were wearing, caused them many back injuries, and that's when they had changed the material. And you know, essentially the reason that the colors would change in the garden is that this is daytime in the garden, and then the deeper blues was nighttime in the garden. So makes perfect sense. We're moving into the mermaid section of the show now, the Little Mermaid, and take a look.
It's not a mermaid. It's a fish. This parade is one of the most artistic parades I've ever seen in regard to taking pure artistic concepts and make it work in a colloquial way. And that's our goal in entertainment, to be able to do that.
Look at this sweet young thing. I have a proposition for you. Direct. Here comes
Ursula would actually point at you with a yellow light, so she would, you know, find her next victim. Give you a proposition. Nope.
This parade was extremely successful. I with a sigh of relief that we made it through by getting rid of the other parade. And then all of a sudden, Disneyland wanted one called Light Magic. Remember that one? Disaster.
This version of Sebastian is the puppet version of Sebastian. There was a later version that was actually an animatronic Sebastian. So,
Well, then after Disneyland Light Magic, because it was produced, I'll just say it, from the guy who ran the park, influencing the artists so much to where he beat them into what he wanted. The floats were way too big. You couldn't even see the top of them from Main Street. And the thought process of what the parade was, of all kinds of nymphs and things running around, there was just too much stuff for Disneyland. Disneyland was just overwhelming for Disneyland, and that head of that park got it from all the people who complained about everything and helped at some point along the way to deal with him because of getting him to stay out of our creative way in regard to what we did.
for more information on that, come to our Light Magic presentation next year. Everyone will be there.
Well, and I was not a fan of what he was trying to do because he wanted to be a show director when he really didn't have the talent to do it, but he had the power to be able to do it. And that's the danger you sometimes to get into when you're dealing with different people in the business we're in here.
Yeah. That's absolutely true. We're getting back to Spectro on some of these floats here. I want to point out, I already pointed out Ursula before, but this is King Triton. The Under the Sea segment for SpectroMagic was originally not really tied to Little Mermaid. So this actually originally was King Neptune and got switched over to Triton. Again, synergy. That's a big thing. So these fish were some of my favorites. They would blow bubbles at you, and they would wink at you, and they would spin around. So I absolutely loved that. And I think one of my oldest memories of, and I believe this to be Ron Logan. I was, this tall and everything, and walking by, one of the floats had broken down on the side of the street during the parade, and it was pulled over right after the Liberty Square Bridge. And I swear I heard, somebody say, well, what do we do with this fish? And I'm pretty sure Ron said, well, we could fry them up for dinner. Sounds like you. I don't know if it was, but I'm going to pretend it was anyway. So now we're moving into Fantasia. Now, keep in mind that it was Fantasia's 50th anniversary. So this, along with Sorcery in the Sky, which Don produced here, maybe I'll talk about that tomorrow, I don't know. But Fantasia was in a lot of things too, because again, synergy. We can say it all together next time. So take a look. Toward the end of the life of the parade, that hippo at the beginning got replaced with a disco ball. The hippo had fallen down. They want to rebuild them.
An interesting thing, all these ostriches here are guys. We didn't want any beautiful girls up there, but we wanted it to be funny, so we hired muscle-bound guys from football teams to come in and be ostriches. You got to take a chance, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If you go try to produce something and you're afraid of it, you'll never be successful. But you can play with it. You can try different things.
Now, the Fantasia segment actually served a couple different purposes, and one of them was to give the parade a slight sinister element. If you take a look at the beginning of this series of floats, this is a Pegasus series, because you have all the flying Pegasuses.
Pegasi.
Pegasi. Okay. Toward the end in the clouds, you start seeing some lightning bolts. And that's starting to allude to something sinister coming. That gets us into Bald Mountain. Bald Mountain was one of the most impressive shows Disney's ever done in any parade in the Magic Kingdom. It had a sensor system. You could not open it in certain areas of the parade route. So if Bald Mountain didn't open in front of you, it's probably because it wasn't allowed to. It probably hit a tree or something. And it also transforms. There's two series of colors on it. One of them is more of a purple and this is more of a red color. That was really impressive, and I know that was mostly the purple color in the video, but I found this picture. It's not a great picture, but it kind of shows the difference in color. And for those of you watching this online, you can probably tell the difference in the color, but on the projector in here, not so much. So it's time to move to the finale of the parade, and this is the cavalcade of characters, and it's designed to look like a carnival or fair. But the cool thing is that if you notice, there's two buckets of paint at the beginning. One of them is of clear white lights, and one of them is of rainbow-colored lights. So you can paint with color, or you can paint with all clear white. And take a look. Oh, and also the trumpeters used to be at the end of the parade. They moved them to the beginning of the parade in later versions of the parade.
And when we did that, we threw sound. The direction that those trumpets are going, the sound we would have thrown that direction. But technically, this parade was extremely complicated.
Kind of hear that pointed audio right now. There's your two buckets of paint. You'll pick up a fiber optic paintbrush and start painting the float. There he goes. And again, if the pig knew what he was doing, he would do it exactly at the right time. Then it would cascade. That was the beauty of it. It didn't all happen just as a snap. It would cascade all the way back to the floats.
And again, these are the 5 floats that were so demanding in regard to weight.
Oh yeah, we're coming up on the heaviest float that's ever gone through the Magic Kingdom parade route. I'll point it out in a second. This is the carousel float. This is the heaviest float ever. Because you have, I don't really know, it's a creative choice that they made to zoom in onto those lights. I'm not taking responsibility. I'm not the one who filmed this. But this is one of the few videos that I have been able to find where the carousel float is working correctly. Because there's multiple elements of movement. You have the carousel going all the way around, and then each one's going up and down in sync as well. So most of the time, you didn't see everything working exactly at the same time. So. And I loved having this. Mickey's at the beginning of the parade, and then Minnie is at the end to bookend it. But Minnie isn't the final end of the parade, actually. There's somebody at the very end, which I even love even more. Pluto was the last one in SpectroMagic, if it was done in the old days. And you'd see Pluto with a lit dog collar, and he'd come up, and he'd... Back then, Pluto's tongue was longer, so he could pretend to lick guests. Then kids would start pulling on his tongue, so Pluto's tongue got a lot shorter after that. I was one of those kids, so you can blame me for Pluto being a lot shorter. But here's some pictures of the last float there and everything, and how it changes into all white. So just a beautiful, beautiful finale of the parade.
Now, we made an attempt to store this parade, but it was not stored properly, and that's why it doesn't exist anymore. You can't bring it out because it disintegrated. It had so much wiring, so many electrical things that over a period of time decay. I think that it would cost 3 times the amount to rebuild this again. But it was very, very successful, as I mentioned to you. It begat Light Magic, which was not successful from what I told you, but it also begat the best parade, in my opinion, we ever did. It's a parade out of Tokyo, Illuminations.
Fanillusion.
Excuse me, Fanillusion.
Oh, we have a Fanillusion fan in here. Oh, wow. Yeah.
The Fanillusion, the Japanese said, we want one too. And I said, I need a year off. Because you can't imagine the pressure, or maybe you can, of all of this stuff. First of all, I am not a technical person. Everybody would come and talk to me about things. I wouldn't know whether they're telling me the truth or not. But I had to trust them. And then I had different people kind of were part of it for a while, then not part of it for a while because of kind of disagreements. So it was a very difficult parade to do and to make work. But it turned out to be extremely successful, but it doesn't exist anymore, and that's too bad. Because this parade, I think, would stand up today. You could put it out today, and it would still stand up.
And they need it. They need a parade at night at the Magic Kingdom. Oh my gosh, yes. So I will really miss that parade. And you know, to talk operationally for 1 second, when you try to close the Magic Kingdom right after fireworks, you try to wait for, you know, the monorails or the buses or the boats, and it's a nightmare. So by having the parades later in the night after the fireworks, it kept some more people in the parks, and it was easier to get out too. So I don't know what they're doing, but you know, maybe one day we'll get another parade at night in Magic Kingdom. I sure hope so. So anyway, I will really miss SpectroMagic, and let's say goodnight to Jiminy.
Good night, Jiminy.
Up.
So long from Jiminy Cricket and SpectroMagic.
Those of you at home, you're allowed to turn your lights back on. So.
If you have anything on SpectroMagic that exists, merchandise-wise, posters, whatever, I feel they're going to be extremely valuable. Hang on to them. Because it's something that keeps reoccurring. Like when we were approached by Tom to be involved with this. Because we talked about SpectroMagic last time we were involved here. Well, let's talk about it again, because it still works, the level it was at. So that leads me to something I want to talk about. It's extremely important to me. Maybe I feel so strongly about this because I'm not so good at technical things. Michael Eisner always encouraged my team and myself in particular to get emotionally involved with what you're creating, so you can feel what you're producing inside of your heart. He used to keep saying, it's got to have heart. It's got to have heart. And what he meant by that, you need to be, it's not a job, it is not a new thing that you're not investing in. If you're going to create something, make sure it moves you in creating it. Whatever you do, if you're putting a garden in the backyard, if you're painting a picture, or whatever you're doing, have heart. And I have to say, I wrote this down, and I still believe, I think there's something that's really lacking now in some of the Disney newer shows. Some of them are spectacular, they look great, but do they have heart? Are you going to walk away, change, feeling different? That's the key to me. And I've not seen the new show personally, but I've heard a lot of things about it at Epcot. I'll put up reflections against that any day of the week. So when you listen to Don Dorsey tomorrow, you remember that. Because he was not involved in this one, but he was the guy who made reflections work.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on,
That's, I
some
think
things we do for marketing. Bill wrote this for me. I mean, we want to be creating milestones. We also want to marketing something
Oh, no.
to make a marketing splash. When it came to the 25th anniversary,
I can see where this is going.
we knew we wanted to change the icon of the park and make it something special.
Does anybody have any Pepto-Bismol? My stomach hurts.
So we decided to turn the castle, Cinderella Castle, into a birthday cake.
Ron, do you mean to tell me that you're personally responsible for, well, for thousands of canceled weddings and ruined hopes and dreams for the first time visiting the park?
Hell yes. And we also wound up on every cover of every major publication in the entire world that year. A marketing firm came to Orlando, they were out of Chicago, Leo Burnett they're called, and wanted to know who came up with the crazy idea of making the birthday cake. And I thought, oh, I'm going to get fired here. And they offered me a job to go to work for them in Chicago. I said, where is it? Chicago. No, I don't think I want to go there.
I grew up in Chicago, and there's no way I'm going back to that cold. It was.
If you go to my office at Rosen College today, I have a giant picture of that castle.
Yeah.
The only problem I had, it was Pepto-Bismol pink for a long time when nobody knew what it was. The other thing about it, all the turrets were actually inflatable balloons. They were inflatables. And we had to pay budget-wise to replace those because with Florida weather, they deteriorate. So that castle took a long time to paint Pepto-Bismol pink and to have those things, but it really worked for us. And then in my budget, I paid to have the castle turned back to where it was before. Now they've done all the mapping and stuff. That means you don't have to paint it, you just map it and show it.
And actually, thanks to Pepto-Bismol Castle Cake, the Magic Kingdom's castle got a lighting upgrade during that process.
Yeah.
And so if you grew up with the castle changing colors at night, that would not have happened had you not had this cake first. So for the castle to change colors, that was Ron too. I have a short video of what it was like to walk down Main Street. This is somebody's home movie. Again, I'm not going to say who it was because I don't remember, but take a look. And it also shows how it was really just done on the front. They didn't really finish the back, so there's also that. So take a look. Look at how many trees were on Main Street back then. A lot more interesting than the backside of water, right? So, what's next? Well, let's talk about. I mean, you just did a big celebration at Magic Kingdom. I mean, what was the celebration for Epcot?
Michael Eisner called me and said, and this was kind of late. This was like maybe October, September, October. And said, I want to make a statement from the Disney company to the world about the Millennium. The Millennium is the celebration of 1,000 years. He said, I will offer $20 million to any unit of the Walt Disney Company worldwide to produce a needed product to celebrate the Millennium. So he said, Ron, I know probably your team is the only one that can do this because we can't make a movie in that amount of time. We can't do a new ride at WDI in that amount of time. So would you take this on to do it? And I asked around the world. We'd had some parades and stuff that we'd had come up. And when it came to it, the thing that needed something the most was Epcot Center. And so I went back to Michael and said, let's spend it whatever money you're going to give me. Well, he said $20 million on Epcot Center. So he said, what are you going to do to celebrate? I said, well, first of all, can you give me an idea what you think you want to do? And he said, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yesterday meaning anticipating the millennium, the day of the millennium, and all of a sudden you're into tomorrow. So he didn't give me a lot of help in regard to what color do you want it to be, any of that kind of stuff. You guys figure it out because you're the guys that do this kind of stuff. Epcot was always the number 4 theme park. Animal Kingdom came and knocked it out and made it worse because Epcot to this day is still suffering. And we were really on our way to make things happen when the pandemic hit and all that. There's a lot of great plans for Epcot, but it's still going to need a lot of help in regard to what it's going to become. So I met with my team and we basically said, let's do a party. And our party place at that time was Pleasure Island. Anybody remember Pleasure Island?
You're gonna be in luck for tonight, I'll tell you that.
Well, it was a wonderful place. We had so many people try to get into Pleasure Island because of all of that stuff. And so I said, let's party. So let's figure a party for Epcot. So, all right, how are you going to have a party? Well, one of the things we decided to do for party, let's add food carts out on that World Showcase area. Food carts hadn't been out there very often until then. Now, Epcot makes most of its money on food carts. So we introduced food carts. Let's bring extra talent out for this party because we needed more talent on that area. I didn't mess with what I call the two Kmarts, which are the merchandise stores down in front. I said, eliminate that. I can't hide that. They're selling merchandise. That's not my bag. But we created basically 3 major areas to be show areas to entertain people at party time, including using a brand new parade. And we call that parade Tapestry of Nations.
Hey, yeah.
Tapestry of Nations, we made sense with it. I'll talk about it a little bit more after Bill says what he was going to say.
Well, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Tapestry, of course, was part of the Millennium Celebration. And there are multiple pieces of the Millennium Celebration that occurred at Epcot. Of course, Epcot was the star of it and everything. And to put all that together in a real quick manner, I could have spent hours and hours assembling footage, or I could have gone to an old Walt Disney World vacation planning video and took out the commercial to come during the Millennium Celebration. So this is designed to get you to visit Walt Disney World during the Millennium Celebration. Now, I think it's very, very fitting the juxtaposition of, we have just started the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World for this 50th celebration. Look at the difference in the marketing for the Millennium Celebration. It's amazing.
As the fireworks dissolved, lights dimmed, and the people of the world ended their celebrations ushering in a new millennium, there is still one place on Earth where the celebration will continue for another year. Centered in Epcot at the Walt Disney World Resort near Orlando, Florida, the year-long Millennium Celebration will light up the faces and touch the hearts of family and friends. Every day until New Year's 2001, families from around the world are coming to Walt Disney World to mark this special moment in a global celebration. Complementing the celebration are new attractions and rides designed to spark the imaginations of guests. At Millennium Village, the cultures of the world are all gathered to celebrate their diversity and to remind us how alike we all are. Every day around World Showcase Lagoon, over 2,000 singers, dancers, and giant puppets perform a tapestry of nations. Soaring nearly 20 feet tall, these enormous figures dramatically represent all regions of the world. Illuminations 2000, Reflections of Earth, lights up the sky each night with breakthrough technologies and the world's first Earth globe, nearly 3 stories tall. Nearby all this heart-pounding celebration is a way to leave your personal mark, an image on a monument to tell future generations that you were here with cherished friends and family to celebrate the future hand in hand. With something new in every corner of our world, the 4 theme parks at Walt Disney World offer something for everyone. For more information on the year-long Walt Disney World Millennium Celebration, call 407-WDisney.
Yep, hand in hand. I dare you to call that number and ask them about the Millennium Celebration now. See, it'll be like, uh-oh. We'll start with the wand. Everybody either loves or hates the wand. I swear, there's never anything, it was okay. The wand was designed because, from my understanding, a lot of people didn't necessarily represent Epcot at the time with Walt Disney World, or even Disney at all. So they wanted something that would show that it was Mickey on the wand. And the wand was built to be up there for a little bit, and then change and say Epcot after the first couple years, and then be demolished 10 years later. It took a lot longer to demolish it, but it did get demolished. But for the longest time, I could never figure out, okay, you're gonna write Epcot above it. Where did that script come from? Like, did you ever think of it? And I finally figured it out. There was this old T-shirt design that was on, and it's not exact, but it's pretty similar to the script that they used in Epcot up on top of the wand for a while. So that's clearly where that came from with the wand. So now we know the story of the wand. And you wanted to talk about Tapestry real quick, so
yeah,
here's your chance.
Tapestry, somebody has sent me a video from a guy in Oregon who made puppets. And his name is Michael Curry. He is now a millionaire. Michael Curry had about 5 people who worked for him, and he sent me pictures of what he created. If you saw the Lion King parade, that was all Michael Curry puppets. Were full-size elephants and all of that. That's Michael Curry. Michael Curry ended up doing the show on Broadway. You know, he was very, very creative. He came up with these one-man float ideas, which comes out of a tradition in the Bahamas, places like Trinidad. You'll see these kinds of things. I use these kind of things in a show that I produced, an opening ceremony I produced for the Pan American Games years back. And they're amazing things. So I want to show you, do we have shots of?
We did, but I think we're running over time.
Okay.
So we're going to just keep going and
Okay.
finish up here, I'm afraid.
So anyway, Michael Curry did these one-man floats, which worked great. They were great because they could touch people. They could literally bend over and you saw a person, but they actually reached down and touched someone, which again is that heart thing. And it was a wonderful thing. We had 3 parades that we did so that we covered the material. They were exact, but they were spaced out. So you had 3 parade routes, and we had a giant drum major who was the sage of time, in essence. In that parade, we also had people singing. You think they're singing words. They're not. They're singing phonetics. So there are a lot of things artistically that we did with all of this stuff that made this really work. It was really sad when Epcot decided not to do it anymore, because I think they really miss it big time, because yes, it was expensive because they had people, had 120-some drummers in it, but it was a thing you went to see and you didn't want to miss it. So that's kind of one of the sad things, that thing went away. Okay.
And then well, I was going to mention one thing about I call them the tombstones at the entrance of Epcot, but you have leave a legacy is interesting, because if you're not familiar, it was made by the legendary Imagineer John Hench. And he was just thrilled in concept with this, and according to Marty, disappointed at how it turned out in the end. Marty Sklar, anyway. So I always found it very interesting that people would come in and they would always ask me, because I'd be entertaining people from out of town, like, what's with the war memorial? And I decided to play up. It's like, well, these are all the people that died in the Epcot wars. And they got, well, is there a place where I can buy some flowers? No. I eventually told them, no, these people paid $20 to get their picture on a little 1-inch by 1-inch tile. And they're like, ah, ha, ha, very funny. But yeah, I'm happy that they've been moved out of that plaza. I think it was the wrong place for them. And I'm happy that we got our plaza back at the entrance of the park. If you've seen the new Spaceship Earth, I think it's fantastic. That was better than Harmonia, seeing Spaceship Earth light up. That was amazing. So I'm very happy about that.
Now, a few other things so I can kind of tie this up here.
Yeah.
We also did a brand new Lagoon show.
Reflections.
Which was Reflections of Earth.
Yeah.
It was meant to be there for 2 years. How many years did it last? 20. That show I was given credit, and I have it in my archives, signed from the bean counters, the money people, credited for $160 million profit. It played 20 years, 7 nights a week, 365 days a year, only canceled with bad weather or
when the Inferno barge blew up. I mean, that happened in the middle of the day. Maybe it wasn't the best idea to have a launch tube on the Inferno barge. No one was injured, as far as I know, when that happened or anything. But they did have to rebuild the entire Inferno. Now, the cool thing is that Don Dorsey, the genius that he is, he designed that show so it could run without the Inferno barge anyway. So they only canceled it, I think, 1 or 2 nights, and then it was right back, show was going. It was a challenge, though, when they refurbished the Earth Globe, though, because they had to bring out the Earth Globe, so they actually shortened the show for the time period when they were replacing the screens on the Earth Globe. But everything else, it ran pretty much every single night for 20 years. That is a remarkable, amazing feat. And, I mean, we have Ron and Don both in-house. Let's give them a round of applause.
Well, one last thing about that.
Yeah.
Illuminations 2000. Eisner said, I know you have a hit. How are we going to advertise it? I had done 4 Super Bowl halftime shows. And there was one coming up for the Millennium. It was going to be in Atlanta. And I worked really closely with them and the other 4, and I knew the people. And they loved it when Disney came and did the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowl has requirements. You got to go on and entertain. You only have 12 minutes. You have 3 minutes to set up, 7 minutes to tear down. You can't block anybody's view. You can't be commercial. Well, why in the hell would we do a Super Bowl to advertise something if we can't advertise what we are? So we work it out in contract language. And so I would call a guy named Jim Steig and say, okay, we want to do this. Do you want us to do it? Oh, yeah, I want you to do it, because they knew I'd bring another $1 million to it, because Eisner gave me $1 million, including the $3 million they were paying me to do 12 minutes. And that was when we had a terrible ice storm in Atlanta. Anyway, we said, okay, what contractually can I not do, Jim? And he says, you cannot have Mickey in that show in Atlanta. No. Can I have that in writing? Yeah. You cannot have Mickey in that show in Atlanta. I didn't put Mickey in that show in Atlanta. We don't have the opening, do we?
I can't show it immediately without going out into the computer.
Mickey was standing on top of Spaceship Earth when the Super Bowl started.
Yeah. Yeah, he was actually up there.
He was on, because you can get up there, and we've used him before up there. He's done it in Atlanta. That show was on ABC because the game was on ABC. Iger saw that show, flipped out. Iger saw that show, flipped up. I got another raise. It was just wonderful. So the Millennium, we really celebrated terrifically, but we were supported terrifically. And one last thing I just want to say before we finish here. I never did anything without great teams. And the company allowed me to pay good money to good people. The work I had to do is to convince the company these are good people that deserve that money. And those of you in the creative world that want to do things, you're going to have to learn how to do that. You can't just say, oh, it's pretty, it's going to work. You got to be able to be a business person in regard to that. You have to manage the situation to convince them, including companies like Disney, that what you're doing is going to be worth it. And then hopefully you know your team well enough that you know they'll never let you down. That's why nobody ever quits. Because you're there the whole time as one team of people. So I always talk about Walt Disney Entertainment very proudly, and it doesn't really exist anymore, you guys. I just have to say it that way. I'm very sad about that. It does not exist. I don't think WDI really exists in the way they used to exist either. It is not there anymore, so I don't know what's going to happen. I have concerns. I have concerns about the new grooming policy at Disney. I have concern about a lot of things, and I've written letters about it, but nobody cares, it seems. Whatever you can do to help that, write letters. You know, make your presence felt and somehow get that information to the powers that be. Some of those powers are going to change here very soon, because I think the top of the Disney company is going to change very soon from things I hear. Now's the time to be vocal. Now's the time, if you're a fan, I know you are because you're here, now's the time to exercise any clout you have with anybody, a congressman, your newspaper boy, whatever it is, because you are now invested as somebody invested in what we're trying to do with all of this, or you wouldn't be here in the first place. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. That was fabulous. And thank you, Tom, for having us, and we'll be back next time, hopefully, with any luck.